However, I do something else. It's an influence strategy. I give them autonomy. I say, however, you can leave this classroom anytime you want to check Facebook, go on Instagram. I don't care. You have that autonomy. But in here, I want you to respect the sanctity of the classroom because you deserve education and I owe it to you. And I set that standard. And side note, there's a video clip that I showed day one, and you're actually in it. I didn't even know who you were. There's a clip of you and some others. It's a montage of videos together talking about social media and how it impacts you adversely and cell phones and cell phone addiction and all that. And I actually play that clip. And can I tell you, it resonates with everybody, and I have no problems the rest of the semester. But I set that tone, and I tell them, if I see the phone, you're going home. No hard feelings. I'm going to pause class, and I'm going to send you home. And then if somebody violates it, though, I do it.
Have you had to build up your, how would I describe it? Mental fortitude, ability to be direct, to look someone in the eye, to stand up straight. Have you had to build that up over time? Because there'll be a lot of people who look at you and see strength and they see confidence and they see conviction, and they'll wonder, maybe she was just born like that, or maybe there's something she did along the way that grew that.
It's a lot of mistakes and a lot of discipline. And it's also the people you surround yourself with will set that example, that tone for you. If everybody around me is a mess, or everybody around me, when there's a stressful situation, they fall apart and they're chaotic, I'm going to be that. Even to this day, Stephen, I sit and I'm very aware of who I have conversations with, whose energy I absorb, whose problems I solve. I have somebody I care about very deeply. They're in a situation with someone, a relationship with someone who is volatile, chaotic. They've come to me so many times. I said, you need to let go of this person. Oh, I will. They don't. But what happens is they keep coming to me. I'm having this problem, and I put them on point. I'm like, I told you what to do. Now you have to sort that out, because now what's happening is your stuff is coming into me, and I can't have that because I have to keep this steady. So sometimes, even with pain in my heart, I'll have to kind of move that person a little bit to the outer part of the circle. Does not mean I don't care or love them, but it means your chaos has to stay there because it's going to bleed into my life. You're unsteady, I'm unsteady. But everybody around me, it's like I don't want to say it's like a calculus problem, but it's kind of simple math, man. Look at who's around you. You are them. They are you. And if you don't like what's going on with you, pause and be like, who am I exposed to the most? Sometimes the people we love, they can be very difficult personalities. But even with them, you could say, I can manage this. I don't want to cut this person out. But what do? I just move them to the edge of the circle a little bit more. And you have to make sure your core circle is strong. And that's something you have to constantly reassess, because sometimes in our lives, this person is good here, and then maybe 2-3 years later, they're not good anymore. But what we're tied to is that person who we knew back then. Well, they're not the same person now. If you have a shit show around you, it's you, because you're allowing it to exist. So think about quietly, how can I create these changes and quietly make these changes, quietly make these boundaries, because these are boundaries internal for you.
It's interesting. I remember watching a video of Steve Jobs talk about how he built his career. And he said in that video, he said, I built my career by surrounding myself and finding these truly exceptional people, these A players. And the crazy thing is, when you find these A players, they like working with other A players and it propagates. But the opposite is also true, right? When you build a circle of drama, they'll invite more drama. But I look at my own life and I look at my companies, and it's almost this crazy sort of process of osmosis. When we have chaos and we have inexperience and we have drama, we end up hiring and inviting more of the same. Whereas when we made those steps to bring in experience, I'm thinking in my early career, experience and maturity and composure and a certain psychological maturity, then that's what we ended up bringing more and more in, because like-minded people attract like-minded people. And even in the context of our own lives, our circle will just, the fifth person will become the sixth person, if that makes sense.
Yes, it's like they rotate out, and it's okay. You know what's interesting too? I'm wondering too, because you do this podcast and you really you're warm, you're open, you want people to speak to you. And I wonder if people that work with you outside of the podcast or people that work with you in your business see the Steven on the podcast and they think he's so warm, he's so open, he's so flexible, and they confuse that Steven with the Steven who does business. And there can be different versions of you, Steven. So you could think of it, and I do this all the time. Who I am here doesn't mean I'm the same person here. So when I show up to work, I bring in maybe a little bit more energy, a little bit more directness. Or when I hire people, I'll tell people, hey, listen, because I want to be efficient at what I do, sometimes I'll be very direct because I want to just get there. Don't get your feelings hurt. If at any point there's something you're not sure about, please tell me. But because I need to get to there, I maybe just be direct. So if you think it's going to be hard for you, I'm not the person. I was like, but I will always appreciate you and I'm always here. So I'll sprinkle in every now and then, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for this. This is great. That way so there's my warmth. So that in those moments when I'm like, hey, this email you guys wrote, we can't send this out. This needs to be redone. And so nobody's hearing like, oh, I'm stupid. She thinks I'm done. I did a horrible job. It's like, no, the email just sucks. Change it and fix it so we can move on and do better. But think about the versions you bring in, because I'll give you an example. Who I am in the classroom is different than who I am on the podcast, is different who I am when I do the news. There are different versions of me, and we have to weigh out those. So if you're going into a business meeting or you're dealing with people who look to you as their supervisor, a little bit of a different Steven. So they feel, it's not what you say to people, Steven, it's how they feel around you. And if they feel like he's not taking any of this, they're going to know it. It's the essence of who we are. It's our ethos is the Greek word, your way of being.